Thank you so much. That concludes the Singing Tarot game. And now I can't believe we're in our last 2 and a bit hours of this whole festival. So let's kick this last section off with Gino. We've seen him play the guitar and make puppets, and now we're going to see a bit of his paranormal side. So Gino and Kristie, welcome. They're members of the Hemet Ghost Hunters, a Southern Californian paranormal investigation group. So I'm excited to hear about this. Over to you guys.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
Sorry, there's a plane going over.
Yeah, there's air traffic over the airport.
Yeah, not literally, but.
Well, introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Kristie. And actually we're one half of the team. There's another couple, and I guess we'll just tell a little bit about why we got into this. So when I was growing up, I had some out-of-body experiences when I was about 7 or 8 years old. And then I moved into a haunted residence when I was about 10 or so, and just got really interested in what was going on. So I started doing research into the paranormal, occult, metaphysics, and things of that sort. Gene, how'd you get into this interesting vocation?
Well, when I was a young man, about 20 or so, I moved and lived in LA, and I picked up a part-time job in a metaphysical bookstore in Sherman Oaks, and I worked there for a while. And that got me started on things. Started getting into tarot cards and the occult and other stuff. And I also had a long string when I was a child. I thought monsters and devils were coming into my room at night and messing with me. And when I got older, I thought I was being abducted by aliens. And that sounds crazy. And thanks to the internet, at some point, I found a thing called sleep paralysis and realized that's actually what it was. And I had sleep paralysis all my life. I still get it once in a while. That's a common explanation for UFO abductions. So I just had this whole long interest in ghosts and the paranormal, all that fun stuff, which then leads to us joining a ghost hunting group in our area.
Yep. Here we are today, talking to all you wonderful people about this. Oh, you're cutting out, Sharon says.
We're cutting out.
You are.
I'm cutting out. I'm probably just not talking loud enough. I can get closer to the microphone.
See, I'm not.
That's odd. You're cutting the same. Anyways, if that sounds a little bit better, I'll talk up next to the microphone.
No, that's a little weird.
So we're gonna show you some of the gear that we use, and then kind of tell you about some of the stuff that we do. And then maybe if there's any questions, then we can field a couple questions.
Keep an eyeball out for that. All right, and away we go.
So we do investigations of private residences, and also we do some public ones where we sell tickets and bring people along and take them on sort of guided tours of local historic sites, things like that.
Let them do some investigating on their own. They can bring their own digital cameras and phones and things, and kind of just put them in the right atmosphere and place where it's been known to have some paranormal activity, and let them kind of do their thing, as it were. All right.
So start off some of the stuff that we use while we're out. Obviously, we use our eyes and our bodies, looking for anything you feel. If you feel chills, cold spots, hot spots, you can hear things. That's weird. I don't know why. I'm cutting out. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so using your body, great piece of equipment you're naturally born with. Just eyes, ears, skin. You can feel cold, hot spots. Sometimes we've had people being touched. We ask everyone if they're in a group, public group, if they don't mind being touched. And it's usually the people who don't want to get touched who end up getting touched, I figure. Let's see, if you have psychic abilities, a lot of people are innate psychics, don't realize it till they get out on the investigations, and they'll start seeing things that not everyone's seen, hearing things, getting some photographs. What else, Gene? Equipment?
Yeah, equipment. So,
oh, that's
look, reading messages and things. So one of the first, excuse me, I'm gonna grab some toys here so we can show you some of the stuff that we use. There's a real popular theory that spirits can affect electromagnetic fields. So one of the things that we use is an EMF detector. which my particular one looks like this. And it's pretty much the same device that electricians would use or contractors would use to go around a house to find faulty wiring or broken appliances, anything that would put off an EMF field. Or find wiring needs to be replaced. We use this to sort of check the area and see if there is any sort of movement or anything weird with the field that's not supposed to be there.
So turn it on.
So I'll turn this one on. It's on. You can't hear anything. If I pick up my phone, but I don't even make it move, but it makes noise basically. It lights up when there's a stronger or weaker magnetic field. Usually what we'll do is we'll walk around the house and go around and check each of the rooms and parts of the rooms and sort of get a baseline with this and see what is the sound. I'm trying to do the messages, to see what the levels are in the house to begin with, and see if we can find things like old refrigerators, microwaves, faulty wiring that might be causing that. Once we have an idea of what that baseline is, then we can use this to see if anything fluctuates or changes where there shouldn't be. Okay, that's a few things there. So say if there's a room where there's no wiring whatsoever and there's nothing that should be causing a field, and then all of a sudden there's something there, we make a note of that and see if it correlates with anything else that we find throughout the evening.
Yeah, they're usually here. They come and go. They show up.
One of the other things that we use, which I'm sure most people have seen on TV, is what they call a spirit box or ghost radio, that kind of a thing.
SB7.
I always refer to it as a broken radio.
It's a nightmare to listen to that. Recordings.
Basically, all it is it's an AM FM radio that has a setting on it that sweeps through the channels instead of just normally like you'd find your favorite station to listen to. It automatically filters through all the stations, sort of creating a white noise and picking up your signals. And the theory there is that spirits can communicate through that. We can pick up voices and comments through it. So we can ask questions and oftentimes get a reply through this.
So what you're looking for is an intelligent response, though, not something that's just arbitrary. Like if you ask what year it is, you don't want to get like ham sandwich because it really doesn't have any sort of, sentience, I guess, to it then. It's just maybe random. And it will scan backwards. So if you get a message going forwards, it's kind of interesting.
Another thing that we use kind of similar, it's called an ovulus. I'm sure if you've watched any ghost shows, guys love and use these little guys as well. And just a little electronic device. It also has an EMF detector built into it. It also picks up temperature and a few other different things. And the idea on this is programmed with a voice.
Turn it on.
Excuse me. And it's the same idea. It picks up signals from the environment and basically converts it into sounds or words. So we can ask questions and theoretically, this will answer us. It's got a dictionary mode where it actually has, several thousand pre-programmed words into it. Kind of like the old speak and spells that we had when we were kids. It also has it's mostly talk. It also has a phonetic mode where it just makes vowels and consonant sounds that actually form words. I like that one better because you can never be sure about the pre-programmed words. If it's actually forming words, that's a little creepier and more fun.
But then with the dictionary too, it actually will show you the word that it's saying on the screen. So if there's any question that maybe, you don't know what it's saying, auditorily, you can look at the word. And again, you want to ask a question and see if you get an intelligent response.
Lean in, Kristie.
No, it says lean toward Kristie. Oh. You seem to pick up better close to me.
Oh, it's because the microphone's on the side. You can see right there, it says self. So while we were talking, it said that, and it shows the word on the screen as well.
Which is helpful, because anyone named Adam here.
There's somebody named Adam here. There you go.
It's a message for you.
But a lot of times with this dictionary mode, it does, same thing with the radio. It'll kick out words that might not be relevant. So you have to use a little bit of guesswork with it to kind of figure out. If you're asking about grandma and it says horse.
Well, she owned a horse, really.
Unless she owned a horse, yeah, exactly.
It's not really relevant.
So, we got a lot of other cool gadgets. We use digital recorders. Digital audio recorders, and digital cameras and digital video cameras as well. For the obvious reasons, to pick up voices, recordings, footage, pictures. Sometimes we get pictures of orbs or mist or whatever. The audio recorders we use, a lot of times we would do them to pick up EVP, which is electronic voice phenomena, which is this crazy thing that when you're recording in a dead silent room and you're asking questions and you don't hear a voice with your ears, later you go home and you listen to this and you hear a voice that is now magically somehow on the recording.
Or you can do just like a 5-minute burst and ask some questions and play it back to see if anyone's communicating with you right then and there. And then if you know you've got someone there, you can kind of just continue that way. But again, what you're looking for is something intelligent to respond to you and not something just random. And this is just regular equipment. I mean, you can go and buy a digital recorder anywhere. Digital recorders we find are best because then you can just plug them right into the computer and you can listen back to it with headphones, which is really the optimal way to hear it, because a lot of the times you're not going to necessarily even hear it playing it back. And then sometimes we'll just try to reduce the rest of the noise and kind of amplify a voice if we get something. And that's where you get the different classifications of type, a type A classification, B, and everything.
Which would be what?
Which would be an actual clear voice. Like you ask a question, hey, is anyone here? What's your name? And you get like Bob, and it's clear as day and there's no question about it. It's absolutely everyone in the room will agree it's Bob, and there's not one person saying, I think it's maybe Steve.
And those are actually pretty rare.
Yeah.
They make it on TV seem like that's all they get all day long. It's absolutely clear voices. That's really rare. A lot of those TV shows, it's a hour-long show that they've edited down from 2 days of footage and from recordings. They're only showing you the good stuff.
Yeah, because a lot of time you'll just sit in the dark and not hear or see anything for hours and hours and hours. Oh yeah, you can absolutely use the cell phone, and we were going to talk about that. You just set it. Gene actually explained it.
I use my cell phone all the time because most cell phones have an audio recorder.
Sorry.
I'm gonna do this. A voice recorder or audio recorder, for communication that you can use. But also, there's got a great digital camera, so I use it for that as well. And then a text mode, which is always fun. That everybody's got. You send text messages. You can go to your text messages. And set it as if you're going to send yourself a message to your own phone number. And the idea is when you go to type in your text, hit the microphone on the microphone button so it picks up voice to text. Ask a question, hit the voice to text, and then sit there silently and wait to see if anybody talks into it. It sounds crazy, but we've gotten it to work a couple of times with very relevant, accurate answers, which is really kind of weird. And it's creepy because you start to see the words kind of fill in by themselves on here when no one's talking.
Yeah, so if you're really brave and you got nothing better to do later tonight, you try it in your house if you don't mind having someone lingering around perhaps, or you can go out to your favorite cemetery or wherever you'd like to go. We've got it all different places. We were at an older cemetery, a local one, just kind of hanging out, got nothing for the several hours that we were there, and then right before we left, it mentioned his name and it said something. And then another time we're out at this other spot that's kind of a well-known haunted spot, and it was full of people and it was daytime, and I was shooting pictures and doing audio, and he just tried it and he got a message, and I asked it if anyone wanted to speak with us, and I couldn't hear anyone saying anything, but it said, no, I don't want to talk to you. I have it saved right here.
Actually, you can hear the text picked up her voice saying you can talk to this device or to Gene, and then it filled in its own. It's hard to read there. Maybe filled in its own answer. So it said, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Be better than not, but. It works so well, but
that looks horrible.
That looks horrible.
But then when we got home on the audio, I had recorded where I couldn't hear it at the time. I could hear it there too, and then we could see it typed out. So that was pretty cool.
There's also a lot of apps out there you can get for your smartphones. Most of them are crap. Most of them are just toys or games. They don't really do much of anything. But there's a few good ones out there that have some useful features. You kind of have to be picky about it and check the reviews and try them out.
Say to stay closer. You're fading out.
I can say it like this.
Yeah, that's all right. a little weird. Yeah, cameras again, same, just Sony CyberShot digital. Anything's pretty good, I would say. Digital's nice again because you can put it right into the computer, blow that up and get a good look at it. Cautionary tale about what people think orbs are. A lot of times it's bugs and dust. If it looks hollow, it's usually going to be dust or pollen. We'll show it very hollow, and a lot of times we get people sending us tons of photos of all these orbs everywhere and blow them up and it's dust or pollen.
With pollen, if you blow up the picture with pollen, you can actually see the spiky edges of the particle. People think it's a glow, but it's actually it's just a particle. That's all it is.
Actual orbs are a lot more difficult to catch, and usually they're very, very bright and dense. And when you can reverse the photo so that you make the orb look black and everything else look lit up, and then if it's solid, that's usually a good orb shot. Oh, and then there's this little guy. It's not so usual.
We have a few things. We use night shots a lot when we do investigations in the evenings. We'll use the night shot.
Sony, I think, is the only company out there that makes night shot a CyberShot, I think is what they call it, which is really, really useful. And you can set it on that.
And that's when you're watching the shows and everything's dark and everything's in green. That's the night shot, the night vision, basically. There's another version of that. Night shot is basically just picking up IR, infrared light. You can also get a camera that picks up full spectrum, which means it doesn't filter anything out. And you get some really wild stuff. And we have a video camera, digital video, picks up in full spectrum. Again, you can kind of see it looks kind of purpley, kind of weird. Makes really cool pictures, but it also picks up a ton of great stuff in the background. This is great for picking up orbs and just stuff that the bare eye can't see.
Yeah, because it sees in the full spectrum of light. Another good thing to use with this is the IR lights. It will really light it up. Yeah,
just basically like instead of using a flash for a regular camera, you have something that specifically shoots out infrared light in the room in this mode as well. This is one I made. I built this myself. I did with little electronic ghosty fun things, or you can buy a pre-made one. This kind of thing. It's just essentially like a flash for a camera. It's a camera, a video camera, and it lights up at night.
But you won't see that it's on unless you look at it kind of obliquely because it's.
We'll also use digital thermometers to look for temperature changes in the environment. Here's one of them. Picks up heat, hot spots and cold spots. We'll also use.
And you can buy that just anywhere.
Yeah, it's like $10 on Amazon.
Yeah.
We'll use compasses, sometimes dowsing rods, pretty much anything you can think of that could possibly get us any information or show any sort of change in the environment or any sort of reaction is what we're looking for. None of these things are really designed like EMF detectors. They're not literally made to find ghosts. That's impossible. So don't let anybody tell you that they have a ghost hunting device. There's no such thing, really. We're just using devices that are meant for other things in effect to try to find, like I said, changes in the environment or reactions that we can make note of and see if it has any significance. If the electromagnetic field jumps in the room, doesn't mean it's a ghost necessarily, but it's something to make a note of, because if it jumps in the room, but at the same time somebody hears a voice or you pick up something else, put all this information together at the end of it, and then kind of see if it means something.
Yeah, and usually the more equipment you have that, I don't want to say proves, that agrees with what's going on in the room. So if you get a photo at the same time you get audio, at the same time you actually hear something, or you get a spike on the EMF detector or something, you may have something happening, especially if you actually get something auditorily. We've also had instances where we'll set up our cameras and something will keep shutting them off. There was one investigation where it didn't seem to like men too well. So we sent all the men back in the room and it would just shut the video camera off every single time, and kept asking it, hey, stop shutting it off. It liked to shut it off, just kept doing it and doing it. Then sent the women back there and it was fine. So I don't know, anomalies, ghosts.
Somebody just asked about how much a basic investigation would cost. You know, a very famous original ghost hunter once said that all you need is a pencil, and your wits about you, basically. Just a pencil and notes. That's all you need, really. If you want to do all these fancy toys, I mean, some of this stuff gets a little pricey. You know, you can spend. You can go to any of the websites. There's a couple different online stores that sell this kind of stuff, and they'll sell you a basic kit for $200 or $300. Or you can go to Amazon or even Home Depot and find a lot of this kind of stuff on your home goods stores, and put it together yourself. You can save money in that way, but
Just use your cell phone.
you don't need all the toys. Yeah, if you have a smartphone and a pencil, you're good to go. Flashlight. If you like to go out at night,
And always get permission. Don't just trespass on them.
we don't always investigate at night. It's a little more fun and it's creepy.
It's quiet.
It's quieter. That's the main reason to do things at night, because there's less people activity. There's less electronics, less radio, less cars driving around. Less stuff to get in the way and cause disruption. But you can do it during the day. You can get just as fun and I'll say scary stuff in broad daylight as you can in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So, you want to talk about the books?
Oh, if you're interested in learning more and you want a reputable source, we highly recommend Lloyd Arbach. This is one of his very old books. He actually has a master's degree in parapsychology.
He's one of the only people in the world that has that.
Well, no, there's another guy.
I said one of them.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, just go to Amazon, you look him up if you can't really read it. Yeah, I've had it since I was like 11. I think it's out of print now, or maybe they still have it. Yeah, we can write down the names. But yeah, he's amazing. I've talked to him personally on the phone about things. He actually, he teaches classes through the Ryan Institute as well, parapsychology classes. He's a really great guy. So there you go.
Oh, guys, this is really amazing. I think everybody's great. Can you tell us about maybe one of your investigations or one of your favorites and some of the things that happened?
That's hard because we've had a lot of good stuff. Do you have one off the top of your head?
I have one of my favorite ones. One of the earlier ones we did when we first joined with the group that we're in with now, the Hemet Ghost Hunters. Which you can go to hemetghosthunters.com.
Oh yeah. If you have other
check it out. There's a lot of information on there, and we have a Facebook page as well.
And YouTube has our videos if you want to see some creepy stuff.
One of my favorite ones was, it's been years now, but we were investigating a smaller, older home, and three of us, myself and a couple of the other guys, were in one of the bedrooms. Actually, it was the same night she was talking about with the camera that kept turning on and off. And while we're back in that room, we kept hearing scratching noises and knocks and things, which we thought could easily be an animal or something. But then we heard a scraping sound that to me sounded like someone took a garden rake and was scratching it across the wall, but at about head level and all the way across the room. You could hear it move. And the only thing on the other side of that wall was a living room. There wasn't, it wasn't outside or anything like that. And the walls were pretty thin. I'll admit, sure, it could have been a mouse or a rat in the wall, but a mouse or a rat wouldn't have made that large a sound that's in that big of a space. I mean, I've heard mice in walls. I know what that sounds like. This literally sounded like somebody took a rake about this wide and was just scraping it across the wall from end to end. We actually caught that on audio, audio recording of that. That was a good way to start. That was fun.
Did you find out what that was? Was there no explanation whatsoever?
The nearest thing I found was somewhere on the outside of the house. There was a palm tree that had a palm frond that was touching the house. But that was on the opposite side of the house, near the garage in the back, and I don't think would explain the sound we heard in the area that we heard it. It wouldn't have made that large of a noise personally. That's the closest thing I could find. Usually one of the first things we do is when we hear stuff like that, of course, we get excited. It's like, oh, we got something. But then
try to debunk it.
Yeah, we will walk around, try to figure out, turn the lights on, get everybody together and go like, okay, here's what we heard. What the heck could that have been? What would have made that in the real world?
And then we went walking outside too.
Yeah, we don't always assume right away that it means it's a ghost or a spirit or grandma or something like that. I usually assume it's a tree or an animal or something. Until we can't figure out what it is, that's the fun part.
Yeah. And I think someone asked if we thought it was a thin area. Yeah, there are definitely some areas. I know there's Hemet, for some reason, seems to be just sort of special when it comes to paranormal stuff. And there are ley lines, of course, that run all across, you know, the whole globe, and certain things are actually built on ley lines. And I think even Stonehenge is supposed to be one of the things that is on a ley line. And other things that have a certain energy to them. And then also people believe that there's a lot of vortices or vortexes in certain areas that can absolutely attract certain energy, whether it's positive or negative. And then we've also had people who create their own things. And a lot of times we'll have one particular person who's this, you know, catalyst for things, who either knows they're very psychic or who doesn't necessarily know or doesn't want to admit it. And the rest of the house is kind of just, you know, what's going on? This is crazy. And then when they start to tell us the things and meet the people, because one of their team members is a psychic medium, so she'll go in there and absolutely, you know, if there's another an entity there that isn't, you know, the person, she'll pick up on that too. And we've had instances where it's one particular family member and we're like, yeah, we pretty much think this is what's going on, and the person doesn't really want to cop to it at first, but after we go back with the evidence and we start talking and they trust us a little bit, then they're like, you know, yeah, I've been psychic since I was a kid and had a lot of things happening. And I'm like, all right, well, it's time to kind of get that under control. I'm a psychic too. This is kind of the things I do to control that. Also, Nicole, the other, who's a psychic medium, will, you know, give them some tips. And a lot of times they either do want to take care of that and kind of get it under control, or they're like, nah, I love this. I like being, you know, this way, and I'm just going to keep doing my thing. And then to the family and the people to decide kind of how they want to handle it.
2 minutes.
Your investigations, 2 minutes that was. Have your investigations ever converted a skeptic? Any instances?
Yeah, we've had some people who come to the public ones, because a lot of times the private ones, they already know there's something going on. You know, because that's why they're calling us. But yeah, like I said, when we do the public ones, and I always ask, you know, people to let the spirits know. I mean, we can't absolutely call them in. They're, you know, in my belief, if they're disembodied spirits, they have the same free will as people with bodies. They just don't have bodies anymore. And we just ask, is it okay if they touch you? And a lot of times it will be the people who don't believe or don't want to be touched who get touched or have some sort of experience. And yeah, then they kind of freak out a little bit and either have to leave or go sit outside, and we kind of just make sure everyone's comfortable still. And it's like, I understand you don't want to be touched. Would you like to leave?
Yeah. Kerry's just asked, do you cross these entities over?
I've seen people try that, and honestly, if the spirit doesn't want to go, a lot of the times they're not really going to go. Like I said, they've got free will. I mean, we've gone to some things where there've been other people there, and they're like, yes, I see the person leaving. And my friend who's the psychic medium's like, they're still standing right there. So unless they're ready to go, and there's a good book on that called People Who Don't Know They're Dead. And I can't remember the author, but if you Google that or go look it up, you'll find it. And it talks about people who do that sort of thing. And it's, you know, I think it's up to the spirit. If they feel it's time to go and you can give them a portal or an opening to go, sometimes they will.
But you can't force you can't make entity crossover. Good intentions are great, but we've done investigations with other teams at historic sites that have been for hundreds of years, and they were trying to cross the spirits over, and then they felt like they'd done it. And all I could think was, this place has been haunted. That ghost has been here for hundreds of years. I'm sure you're not the first person to try this.
Oh God, it's moved.
Make it go if it doesn't want to go. That's
Yeah.
pretty much this.
Amazing.
All right.
I think that's a great place to finish. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
For having us.
You know, that was really great and something completely different from what we've
Still speaking.
discussed. So amazing. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.